Alright, I'll apologize in advance because it appears to me, as I plan out today's show and topics that we're going to discuss, that today is going to be a very Canucks-centric day. If you're a Canucks fan, you like that, you love seeing the Canucks stuff, and don't worry, there's going to be a lot of that. But if you're not a Canucks fan, then hey, sorry, stick around please if you want to. But today we're kicking off the show with a conversation about Luke Schenn. Because when it comes to what Luke Schenn is and how he has been evaluated on the trade market, we have already seen some teams apparently showing interest out there. I'm thinking about the New York Rangers in particular. But according to Rick Dhaliwal on Donnie and Dolly, there is indeed another team that apparently is interested in Luke Schenn and his services, and it sparked up a really big conversation on Twitter, which is kind of why we're making this video over here. Here's the quote from Taj's Twitter account. Some believe that the Toronto Maple Leafs have interest in Luke Schenn. Now, the tweet was actually liked by Rick Dhaliwal himself, so there you go, there's some confirmation right here. Luke Schenn, not only a target of the New York Rangers, but apparently a target of the Toronto Maple Leafs too. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are a very, very funny team to talk about in this context, because they're actually the team that drafted Schenn all those years ago. It was 14 years ago, can you believe that? 2008 NHL Entry Draft, 5th overall. Luke Schenn was drafted out of the, the WHL, so the Kelowna Rocket system, eventually making his way over to the Toronto Maple Leafs. He made his NHL debut immediately after getting drafted, and was never really what the Toronto Maple Leafs wanted him to be. There were a lot of concerns about physicality, whether or not he actually was able to play the game that many Leafs fans wanted him to play, which was a physical, body-checking defenseman who could actually do some okay things with the puck as well. But Luke Schenn was never really seen as the number one bona fide guy that he was supposed to be when he was drafted 5th overall. It's why he had made his way over to Philadelphia, eventually LA, Arizona, San Diego, Anaheim, and then Vancouver, Tampa Bay, and then Vancouver again. Luke Schenn, though, this season has 9 points in 30 games played. Do the math on that. 9 divvy 30 multiplied out by 82. He is on pace for a pretty solid 24-point year, which I get it, it's not the best in the world, but for what Luke Schenn is right now, which is an $850,000 defenseman going on till the end of next season, right-handed, and a guy who can play a pretty good shutdown role with Quinn Hughes, you can't really go out there and expect anything more. And if you want to go over points, I mean, the guy has 3 points in his last 5 games, including an empty net goal. He also scored himself a very nice goal back in December, where he absolutely dangled the pants out of the Ottawa Senators. This is a guy that is as versatile as an $8.5 $100,000 player can get. I don't really know why I said it like that. $850,000. Yeah, it gets difficult when you're dealing with dollar amounts that are under $1 million, because you can't just say 1.2 or 3.5 or whatever. He's making a significantly small amount of money compared to other NHL players, and for the caliber of talent that he provides, this is a pretty good, versatile option on the Canucks blue line that has been, honestly, somewhat of a better option than guys like Tucker Poolman and Travis Hamonic at times. It's kind of funny, but hey, Jim Benning went out there and got himself a depth player less than $1 million that is actually serviceable and that actually outplays a lot of the other more expensive options that he has acquired over the years. So, for Luke Schenn being on the Vancouver Canucks blue line, he's shown off a great level of maturity and just kind of, knowing his place on the team and being able to say, all right, I'm not the hotshot 5th overall guy that I was supposed to be still. Like, I'm not supposed to be that number 1 defenseman anymore. I'm just going to go out there, do my role. I play with Hedman, I'll play with Hughes, I'll play with whoever it is they want to play me with, and I'll let that guy do the things that a number 1 defenseman usually does. I'll be the shutdown guy. I'll be the guy that is usually the first man back. I'll be the guy in his own zone that is able to hold play up against the boards and wait for backup. He's a very solid defenseman who does make a few defensive lapses once in a while. We said this in the New York video as well, but Luke Schenn will sometimes throw an errant pass up the middle that will get picked off, or sometimes he'll give it away in the corners when he's actually trying to throw it over to a teammate. He is not the most consistent guy in the world, and he's not the most fine-tuned guy in the world. But for what he is, oh my goodness, I said it again, $850,000 for another year, like, you can't really get any better than this when it comes to depth options. And so, when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs going out there and getting this guy, going back to the team that initially drafted him 14 years ago, it does kind of pique my interest as to how exactly this could go down. Toronto's in a position where everybody's kind of saying, okay, defense. They're going after Josh Manson. They're going after other defenders, Jacob Chychrun, yada, 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 Klingberg. And those guys are all pretty expensive options, and they would be pretty expensive options should you try to make a trade for them. Luke Schenn, on the other hand, probably doesn't have the same price tag as a John Klingberg, nor does he have the same price tag as a Josh Manson. So from an asset management point of view, I could totally understand if your perspective is, okay, we need to save up on our assets. Kyle Dubas might be willing to go out there and trade away future, but I'm not. Let's go out there and try to get the most value pickups possible. And if that's a conversation you want to have, then I think Luke Schenn goes in there and fits the bill pretty well. Now, I'll also say this, but there's been such a big conversation on Canucks Twitter as to what Luke Schenn should be worth on the open market that it's kind of funny to me how everybody has such a strong opinion here. This is one of the bigger ones that I've seen. It's immediately replying to the tweet by Taj. Only move Schenn for a first-round pick. He is too valuable to trade. The Canucks need Luke Schenn's locker room leadership and stability on the back end, not to mention his chemistry with Quinn Hughes. All that for pennies in the dollar, locked up for another year. And posted is the evolving hockey charts showing that Luke Schenn is, at the moment, a better hockey player than Ben Sherratt is when it comes to goals against and Corsi against and Corsi for and all that. And so the implication here is that, okay, Ben Sherratt's going to be able to go for a first. Why not Luke Schenn? And I'll say this to end off this video. Analytically, I do think that there is a multitude of arguments that you can go out there and use that justify the idea that Schenn is better than Sherratt. Schenn is cheaper than Sherratt. Schenn has another year over Sherratt at a cheap cap hit. He's also right-handed. He also has all these Corsi things for and against that Sherratt just doesn't have. However, the number one thing that Sherratt has that Schenn does not have is trust. Okay, maybe not trust. Trust makes it sound a lot more dramatic than I thought it would sound. Ice time. Ben Sherratt in the playoffs was a guy going out there with 25, 26-minute games, and he was a big shutdown guy that did his job extraordinarily well in the entire playoff atmosphere. Luke Schenn this season is averaging about, 17 minutes of time on ice a game? And earlier on in the year, he was averaging 14? Now, that's not bad. Luke Schenn certainly is a valuable player of the Canucks blue line. It's just, if you want to take a look at advanced analytics, you got to take it with a grain of salt because Ben Sherratt is playing on a very, very bad Montreal Canadiens team, and he's getting a lot of ice time on this very bad hockey team. Of course, his stats are going to look terrible this year because everything around him paints the perfect scenario for that to happen. Furthermore, NHL teams are going to go out there and not look at Ben Sherratt this year. They're going to take a look at what he did last year and say, okay, that's the guy we're trading for. It's the same argument with Jeff Petrie. You're not trading for the guy who keeps on shooting it in the shin pads and who gets, on pace for 8 points this year? You're trading for a guy who had 4 straight 40-point years in Petrie, and that's what teams are going to go out there and think about when they make these trades. For Luke Schenn, sure, he's got himself 2 straight Stanley Cups, and he's a very good player for the Canucks when he needs to be, and other times he's not really when he needs to be as well, but for Luke Schenn, those optics aren't there. There isn't really a big-time shutdown mainstay guy like Ben Sherratt was on the Canadiens in Luke Schenn. Like on one of the better teams in the NHL, Tampa Bay, he's just a depth option that plays with Hedman once in a while. So, to me, there isn't really an argument that says that Luke Schenn can go out there and get a first, but I mean, if there's a team willing to go out there and throw a first-round pick for Schenn, I think you take that tenfold. I think you bounce on that. Sure, we've seen forwards like Barclay Goodrow and Coleman and Foligno and all that stuff go for first-round picks, but does that happen with depth defensemen? I'm not really too sure. So, Toronto fans, let me know in the comments, what do you think about the idea of Luke Schenn returning to your organization and suiting up once again for the blue and white? Let me know in the comments what it is that you think you should give up, if he is worth more or the same as a Ben Sherratt. Canucks fans, let me know in the comments what would you like to see in return for a Luke Schenn. I hope you enjoyed this Vishara 99. Canucks fans, by the way, we got some more Canucks stuff to talk about. We got to go over Jack Rathbone and Guillaume Brisebois, because those two, my goodness. Anyways, that's the next video. So, yeah, outro, I already said that, and bye.